Bill Pulte joining us right now to talk a little bit more about this. And Bill, let's just start off before we get into some of the, I guess, shorter term issues that you're going through here in this industry, some of the longer term issues and the longer term planning and how much more complicated it's gotten, given that we are kind of at this major inflection point, this major structural shift in interest rates, in economic policy, and fiscal policy as well.
Well, the big problems that I see, and a lot of people talk about inventory and inventory being a problem, I think the big problem is zoning. Zoning has just become almost impossible in many municipalities. And as you know, even if builders want to get inventory up, they still need to be able to be legally permitted to build these structures. So I think it's a little bit of a misnomer or a misleading thing to say, oh, you know, we're low on inventory. Well, sure. But we're also low on inventory for a big reason, and I think that's zoning. And I think, Romaine, you're going to be seeing in years to come more and more talk about what can we do at a local level to fix some of this zoning problem.
Do you think, though, is the appetite there? I mean, obviously you're running a business, but you're also talking about something that is inherently very political, and obviously those politics can differ dramatically from state to state and city to city here. Do you think there's a political will on a mass scale to sort of address some of those zoning issues you just highlighted?
I would hope so. But again, remember, real estate is location, location, location. So that means that zoning is local, local, local. So if you have local governments, it could be different 10 miles apart. It could be different 1 mile apart, right? It could be different for one property next door to another. So it's really a problem, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And I think that's actually in part why the home building stock prices have kind of stayed where they're at, because they do own or at least have option to a lot of property, many cases that's already been zoned.
Yeah, if we take a look at the S&P Super Composite Home Building, they're down. Their stocks as a group overall down about 25% this year. Bill, so let's talk about 2023. We're watching prices come down, right? We are seeing a slowing in the market because of higher rates thanks to the U.S. Central Bank, higher mortgage rates. How do you see the housing market in 2023? You have a special vantage point.
I think it's going to be a tough hill to climb, because I think that for so long we had so low of interest rates that anybody and their mom, excuse the phrase, could make money in the market. Now you have a situation where you have high interest rates. You have to be dynamic in terms of the sale process. For a lot of these builders that have move-up homes, people aren't going to want to give up their 2-3% mortgage rate to get into these move-up homes that are expensive, that have all these kind of bells and whistles on them, so to speak, at a 6% mortgage rate. So it's going to be tough. One of the good things that's going on, frankly, is that inflation, as it pertains to lumber, as it pertains to many of the costs of goods sold that go into home building, is actually going down. I mean, lumber was sky high. It's now kind of gotten back to pre-COVID levels. So I think that you've seen some pressure come off of the builders. But again, you're going to have a different kind of pressure. And in this case, it's very important pressure, and that is higher interest rates.
Tim, you remember all we were talking about is lumber?
Yeah,
it was like $1,600, $1,700
You were just on lumber TikTok.
We were doing, and we found some great guests out of there. I mean, we were talking to lumberjacks.
Hey,
it was
Bill.
the hot thing. It was the hot thing. Everybody thought it just keep going up, keep going through the roof.
Yeah.
And now it's interest rates.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, I'm really curious about what you said about zoning. I want to go back to that. And I'm wondering if you're talking about single-family homes, land zoned for single-family homes, or if you're thinking more multifamily and density in our cities. And what we really need to do is rethink here in the United States the idea of density. I mean, we saw what happened in California over the last year with the debate around accessory dwelling units, these so-called grandmother units, right, ADRs, and the way that that's adding hundreds of thousands of potential places for people to live in California. What are your thoughts around density?
Well, think about it this way. You have social media these days. So when people have problems, let's say it's a local area and they don't want more traffic, whether it's single family or multifamily like you're talking about, I think it's a problem for both, all the above. And people can get on social media these days. They can speak up. They can say, hey, look, we have this quiet neighborhood. We have good schools. We don't want these builders coming in. I'm not saying that's what I say, but I'm saying, you know, people in their own local municipalities.
Right, NIMBYs, right? Not in my backyard is sort of the pejorative term that's used for this.
Correct.
All right. So, look, I mean, we talk about sort of the structural